kindergartners. Welcome to another episode of Mad Science with Mrs. Brady. My normal sidekick, Harley, is not with me today, so we have a different sidekick joining us today. His name is Rowan. Say hi, Rowan. Rowan is going to be my sidekick today for Mad Science, and we are doing something a little bit different this time. So we are going to bake some pumpkin bread. Oh yeah, I bet you didn't know that baking was science. Baking uses science and math, actually. So we're going to get started. I am actually going to put a list of ingredients on here for you guys, and I will have the episode or the link for the recipe as well. So that way you don't have to try to rush to write it all down. But I'll put up the ingredients, and we will meet you right back here in our kitchen, and we'll get started. See you in a second. So as you can see, we have all of our ingredients already measured out. Rowan is ready to do some baking, and I am just going to kind of be the cameraman and help him make sure we get everything in the right order. So this is something that you guys can make with your parents, with your grandparents, with your friends, whoever you want to make it with, and it'll be a super yummy fall treat. So the first thing that you want to do is go ahead and preheat your oven to 325 degrees. So it will say 325, just like that. So we're gonna let that preheat while we are mixing up our ingredients. So the first thing we have is 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And then we have a teaspoon of cloves, a teaspoon of nutmeg, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. Over here we have a teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of baking powder, and a half a teaspoon of salt. We have 2 cups of sugar. It's gonna be good, y'all. And then we have some canned pumpkin. You need the 15-ounce can. We have 1.5 sticks of unsalted butter. I told y'all it's gonna be good. And 2 eggs. So that's everything that we need for our bread. If you want to, you can add in some nuts. I think some walnuts would be really good in there, or some pecans, however you say it. But you could add in chocolate chips. You can add in whatever you want and kind of spice it up and make it your own. So we're just gonna make a basic pumpkin bread recipe. We are gonna use our stand mixer, but you can also use a hand mixer if you have one. You can mix it by hand. With like a spatula if you want to do it that way, however you want to do it. So you will need 2 bread pans. Now, I don't have 2 of the same size bread pans. I discovered that today. So this is actually the size that we need to use. It's 8 inches long and 4 inches wide. The other one that I have that's about the same size is about 9 inches long and 5 inches wide. So this loaf will be a little bit shorter and fatter, but that's okay. So you'll need to spray and flour the inside of your pan, and this will help your bread to not get stuck inside the pan. So, Rowan,
what?
Are you ready for this?
No.
He's gonna get ready real fast. All right, so Rowan, the first thing you're going to do is put the flour in the mixing bowl. Dump that flour in the mixing bowl. That is 2 cups of flour. And then we are going to put the salt, the baking soda, and the baking powder in that bowl. We're going to give those a good mix together in just a minute. So we're putting the dry ingredients. You might notice that. All these ingredients have something in common. All right, and then we're going to put the cloves, the cinnamon, and the nutmeg in that bowl. More dry ingredients. Dump them on in there. All right, and then you're gonna get a fork out of the silverware drawer. And just kind of whisk it together with your fork so it gets really nice and combined in there together. Perfect.
Oopsie.
Yep, you gotta be gentle when you're whisking, otherwise your ingredients jump out of the bowl. All right. So we are going to take this mixture and put it into a different mixing bowl. So we will do that and be right back. Okay, so now we have our mixture that has our flour, our cinnamon, our cloves, and our nutmeg, and it has our salt, our baking soda, and our baking powder. So we're gonna just set this over to the side for now. So the next ingredient we're going to add is going to be the butter and the sugar. So we are going to put the butter in the mixing bowl. You can just slide it off the plate into there probably. Dump them in there. And then you're gonna dump in all of that sugar. Butter and sugar. It's gonna be so good. All right. So now we have to put on the mixing attachment. Do you know how to do that?
I'm pretty sure goes.
You just have to line it up.
Hold on, wait. Yeah. This I think, right?
On the top of it, you just turn it.
Oh.
It lines up, and then you turn it to lock it into place like that. Okay. So we're going to do something called creaming. We're going to cream this mixture together. So I'm just going to lay this stick of butter down. You gotta show that butter who's boss sometimes. Okay, we're gonna lock this into place so it doesn't go flying everywhere. All right, Rowan, so turn it on to like number 1 to start with. Just give it 1 click. Yep. So this is gonna mix up the butter and the sugar, and they will kind of combine together. All right, so now our butter and our sugar is nice and mixed together. So we are going to start adding in the eggs. So you're gonna add in 1 egg at a time, Rowan. You don't have to lift that up.
Oh.
So go ahead and crack 1 egg and put it in the bowl. Just be careful not to get any shells in there. Somebody might get a crunchy bite. There we go.
I'll put that right there.
Okay. You guys notice Miss Brady has fun skull pictures on my mixer. You guys know I love skulls. And these are actually very appropriate for the month right now because those are sugar skulls that are part of El Dia de los Muertos. Very cool. All right, so we are going to mix these in. So just put it on number 1 real quick. We're just gonna let them slowly mix. Oh, the oven is ready. The oven says, I'm ready for bread.
I thought that was the mixer paper, not that.
So this is going to combine the eggs and the butter and the sugar. Yummy, yummy, yummy. It's looking so yummy.
It smells like cake.
All right, I'm just gonna bump it up 1 notch for just a second. We're gonna bump it up to medium speed and let it beat for just a few minutes so it gets nice and light and fluffy. All right, so it's looking pretty light and fluffy. So go ahead and stop that. It's looking good, looking good. All right, so now you can unlock the top and lift it up a little bit so we can pour in our dry ingredients. I also like to take a spatula at this point and just kind of put all that stuff back in the bowl. Yeah, smush it in there. It doesn't have to be neat and clean. All right, so now Rowan's gonna take his dry ingredients. Here, I'll hold that for you. Rowan's gonna take his dry ingredients that we mixed up earlier and put that very carefully into the bowl. Gonna mix it all together. Good job. So now we're gonna lower mixer again. We're gonna lock it into place. I'm just gonna move some of that around just a smidge and just put it on low.
One click?
Yep, one click. We just want it to combine together. Go ahead and stop that. And we're gonna put in the can of pumpkin now that it's starting to combine. So go ahead and scoop that whole can into there.
What? Should I lift it up so we have more room?
If you want, you can lift it up. That's fine. It might be hard because it's got all the stuff in it. Be real careful. Don't want to lose any of your ingredients. Good job. Okay.
Here.
All right, so we're going to scoop that whole can of pumpkin in there. Think it's going to change the color?
Yeah, it's a little orange, so.
It's pretty orange, you're right. Fun fact, did you know that canned pumpkin is actually not pumpkin?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, I just learned that last year.
Yeah, it smells terrible.
Rowan is a master chef.
It smells terrible.
He's a great chef, aren't you, buddy?
Yes, I am. This is a big brain.
He does have a big brain. That's true. Although, I don't know if you guys can see, he's a little confused about his holidays right now.
Huh? What do you mean?
Got on a Christmas shirt, but it's all right.
It's because it's my sweatshirt.
He was a little chilly this morning.
It's my only one.
All right, so put that back down and lock it into place, and then click it back to one click. We're gonna see what happens. Is it gonna change the color of all of it?
Pumpkin on my hand.
Ah, it's turning orange. It's starting to look like a pumpkin.
No, it's not. Pumpkin is wrong.
Oh, it's starting to smell really good. I smell that pumpkin flavor and all the spices. I wish we had smell-o-vision so you guys could smell it.
I don't like pumpkin
All right.
pie and it smells like pumpkin pie.
So go ahead and turn that off. Unlock it. And we will do a final mix and then we will pour it into the pans. All right, so we just took our bowl off the mixer. Rowan's gonna give it just one more little mixaroo with his hand and his spatula, just to make sure that we got all the ingredients nice and mixed in there. Sometimes something will get stuck just on the side of the bowl.
Oopsie.
All right, so you think we can put it in the pans?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Hold on.
we're going to put our bread into these pans. Our bread dough.
Okay. Trying to get most of the.
Well, we can worry about that in a minute. Bring it over here. You'll need that spatula also.
I'm just putting it right there.
So sometimes when you make something like a cake mix, the batter is kind of thin and you can pour it in. This stuff is not so thin, so we'll have to kind of scoop it in. And we're going to try to get it even in both pans so we can have about the same size loaves, even though our pans are a little bit different sized. So we'll get that put in the pans and then we'll put it in the oven. All right, so we got the batter in our pans and Rowan's just kind of spread it through there evenly. You might need your helper, your adult helper, to help you pour the batter into the pans because it's pretty heavy, depending on what kind of bowl it's in. Our bowl's kind of heavy. All right, can you spread out the other one too?
Yep, in a second.
It's looking good and it smells so yummy. I can't wait to have some. Good job.
There we go.
I'm just gonna put a little bit in this corner over here where it didn't quite get there.
Yeah.
Sometimes batter can be a little bit tricky. All right. So you just want to make sure you get it spread out evenly in your pans. All right, Rowan, are you ready to put it in the oven?
Yes.
So you definitely want to make sure your adult is with you to help you with this part, right?
Should I have oven mitts?
We don't use ovens without adults, right?
Yes.
Definitely not. All right, so Rowan's going to open up the oven. You don't need oven mitts for this part because you're not touching any hot pans yet. And we have a rack on the middle shelf of our oven, and you're going to put both of those loaves of bread on the middle shelf.
The one at the bottom?
So, nope, the one on the top.
Oh. How's...
It's in the middle position, is what I mean. Yeah. So very carefully, because you don't want to hurt yourself, right?
Yeah.
Do not want to get burned by an oven. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Good job. All right. And then we close it up. And this is the hardest part, y'all, because now we just have to wait. So we're going to close it up and we're going to bake it for 65 to 75 minutes. So it's going to bake for over an hour. Holy moly. So we'll get that set. I usually like to go kind of in the middle. So we'll start our timer and we'll see what happens over the next hour and 9 minutes. I'll let you see what it looks like now in the oven. This is what we've got going on. This is our bread. So while it's cooking, you can make a prediction about what do you think will happen. Do you think that the bread will still look like this when it's done cooking? Or do you think it will look different? What do you think will happen to the batter? Do you think it'll stay like it is, or do you think it will change? When you're baking bread in the oven, it's actually chemical reactions that are going on while it's breaking from the heat and from the different ingredients. Each of the different ingredients has a very specific purpose for the bread, and it does different things when it reacts to the heats and the other ingredients. So we'll see what happens when we bake our batter. Timer just went off, and check out our loaves of bread. Look what happened to them. They definitely look different than they did when we put them in, don't they? So we're going to take them out very carefully with an oven mitt and put them on a trivet on the stove, and we will test them to make sure that they are done baking. Once you get your loaves out of the oven, you want to test them and make sure that they are done cooking. So I use a knife, and you put it right down in the middle of your bread, and when it comes out clean like that, it means it's done. I wonder what you guys notice is different about the bread from when we put it in the oven. It looks a little different to me. It looks like it got a little larger, doesn't it? And now it has some cracks in the top. This recipe makes a really nice crust on the top of the bread. It's super yummy, but it got bigger. So remember, we were talking about the science of baking, and some of the ingredients are what helps the bread to rise and to get larger, and it makes it nice and fluffy. When you touch it, it kind of springs back. That's what you want to see with a nice good loaf of bread. So if we didn't have all of the necessary ingredients, especially the baking powder and the baking soda, they help to put air inside of the batter, and that helps it to rise up and be nice and light. So if we didn't have those ingredients to make the changes in the batter for us, it wouldn't work. So it's definitely science when we have a baking situation. So you guys can be scientists in the kitchen. I think that's so awesome. After you leave your bread in the pans for about 10 minutes, then you can put it onto a cooling rack to finish cooling. Sometimes when you're baking, things don't always go as planned. So we had a little snafu with our bread. Womp womp. Some of the bread stuck to the bottom of the pan. So that means I didn't do enough flour and grease on the bottom. But it's actually kind of cool because it lets you be able to see the inside. You can see where all those little holes are. That's where all the little air bubbles come from the ingredients. So like we were talking about how the air bubbles help it to rise and make it nice and fluffy. Now you can actually see them. So maybe we did that on purpose. Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
We hope that you'll come back and join us again next week on Mad Science. Bye, friends.